If you use GitHub Actions, I want you to have a tiny panic attack with me for a second. Because there is a chance that your pipeline is exactly doing what you want. But there is a problem. Not because a nation state deployed a quantum AI worm from space. No. Sometimes all it takes is one pull request, one workload trigger, and one pipeline that is little too trusting. And suddenly your CI is not building your app anymore. It's building an attacker's weekend plan. What makes this worse is this is not theoretical. In a campaign that began on March 11, 2026, one threat actor reportedly used 6 GitHub accounts and sent more than 500 malicious pull requests in coordinated waves. So this video is about one uncomfortable truth. Your GitHub Actions pipeline might already been compromised. Not because GitHub Action is bad, but because CI/CD has become one of the juiciest surface for the attacks in software industry. And GitHub itself is admitting that too. In March 2026 roadmap, it says recent incidents like TJ Actions, NX, and Trivy Actions show a clear pattern. Attackers are going after CI/CD automation itself, not just the code it builds. A lot of developers still think CI like this. It run test, build Docker image, and yells at me when there is something wrong in the YAML file. That was cute. Now CI has cloud credentials, deployment permissions, package publishing tokens, secrets, write access, release permissions, and enough trust to ruin your month completely. So when attackers see your pipeline, they don't see automation. They see a backstage pass. And the scary part is, they don't need to go through your application. They just need to go through your pipeline. That is exactly why GitHub says too many workflows vulnerabilities are still easy to introduce and hard to detect. Here is where things get nasty. There is one GitHub Actions workflow that is called pull request target. And on paper, it sounds useful, but in the wrong setup, it is the workflow version of "come stranger, come to my house. Here is the keys on the table." The reason security people keep screaming about this trigger is that it can run in the context of the target repository, not the attacker's fork. And if your workflow is sloppy, that can mean access to secrets, tokens, and privileged behavior that absolutely should not be available to untrusted PRs. GitHub 2026 roadmap even use pull request target as the example of an event organizations may want to prohibit centrally. And that's exactly what recent attackers abused. This campaign reportedly scanned for repos using pull request target, then sent PRs that looked boring enough to slip past people. The thing that makes these attacks scary is not that they work. They work in such a way that it feels normal. That is the deadliest thing about this attack. A malicious dependency update looks normal. A fake CI fix also might look normal. A workflow run can look normal. A secret getting exfiltrated, that part is usually not displayed in the red giant letters. GitHub says the common attack playbook now looks like this. Untrusted code executes. Malicious workflows run without enough observability or control. Compromised dependencies. And over-permission credential get exfiltrated through unrestricted network access. That's not a small problem. Now it's like your automation is now somebody else's automation. And if you think that only affects large companies, no. One report highlighted a compromised GitHub action used in more than 23,000 repositories. 23,000. That's not the niche blast radius. And then there is a Trivy incident. The Reddit thread captures the mood perfectly. Teams talking about rotating secrets, worrying about the active exploitation window, and realizing that if a compromised action ran during that window, static secrets may still be valid right now unless rotated. Some commenters also pointed out the exact thing security teams hate hearing. Most organizations do not even know what to rotate after an incident like this. That's the ugly truth. The hardest part of this kind of problem is not the detection. Sometimes it's the horrible cleanup question. What did actually attackers see? Because if your pipeline had cloud keys, package publishing tokens, registry credentials, signing materials, deployment secrets, then we fix the workflow is not the end. It is the start of really annoying week. Now let's talk about the silent killer, mutable tags. A lot of people reference actions like this, @v1, @v2, @latest, which feels convenient. And by convenient, it means a future headache with some really weird developer experience. GitHub roadmap straight up says one of the current challenges in that action dependencies are not deterministic and can be resolved from mutable references like tags and branches. This is also exactly the people in the Reddit thread were warning about. Pinning an action to a mutable tag is basically trusting that tag never gets moved to something malicious. Their advice was to pin it to a specific commit SHA instead. This is less sexy, less fun, but way more secure. Because when your workflow says use whatever V1 points to, it simply means to surprise me. And the internet love to surprise people. Right now, so many teams think the workflows like some kind of magical goblin YML file living inside the workflows and should behave properly. That era is over. Your pipeline is infrastructure. Your pipeline is privileged. Your pipeline is an attack surface. This is a depressing part. The attackers are impressive, for sure, but they are not impressive in the cool movie hacker way. They are impressive in, wait, that worked? Wait. Because a lot of time these attackers do not need the legendary exploit chain. They just need a bad trigger, too much trust, and too much permissions. That's why these incidents hit so hard. It is the layer where convenience beat paranoia, and developers love convenience. Let me be the annoying person for a minute, because if this video scares you, good, because the fixes I'm going to say is not going to be a sexy one. They are not AI powered, they are not next gen, they're boring adult decisions that stop your pipeline from becoming a crime scene. The first one, pin your actions to SHA, not tags. A lot of workflows does this. Really looks normal, feels normal, very common. The problem is V1 and V4 are still the tags, and tags can move from deleted if the action repo is compromised. So the safer version looks like this. Ugly, but really safe. Second one is using central policy, not I hope every YAML file is perfect. Most of the team treats workflow like maybe whatever Christian does, it's perfect. I will handle this in PR. This is not a security model. This is emotional support. This is exactly why GitHub is pushing policy-driven execution. GitHub says organizations should be able to centrally control things like who can trigger workflows and even prohibit pull request target entirely. So those protections apply across repositories instead of being handwritten into every workflow. So instead of hoping every repo owner remembers these things, organizations should implement nobody can use pull request target, only maintainers can trigger deploy workflows, all third-party actions must be SHA pinned, only approved actions are allowed. That is way more realistic. Third one is reduce secret exposure. This one is huge. So many pipelines are doing something like this, and then those secrets are available to a whole workflow, and that does way more than it needs to. That is basically giving your house key to a pizza delivery guy and he can access the whole house. GitHub says one of the current problems is that secrets are often scoped too broadly at the repository organization level, especially with reusable workflows where credential can flow more widely than teams intended. So the old mindset is your repo needs AWS credential. Better mindset is this exact deploy workflow on this branch in this environment should get a short-lived credential for this one specific one task. Even better, GitHub recommends using OIDC with cloud providers so you can stop storing long-lived cloud credentials and instead issue short-lived well-scoped access tokens at runtime, and that is a massive difference. And the fourth one is treating CI logs as observability. A lot of team detects pipeline abuse like this. Did anybody notice anything weird in logs? That's not observability, that's archaeology. GitHub says one of the current gaps in the malicious workflows can run without enough observability or control. And that centralized telemetry is needed because detection often happens after the incident. A practical example, a bad detection model would check the failed jobs, scroll the build logs, or maybe grab for the token. A better decision model would alert when the workflow suddenly reaches a new external host. Alert when the low-risk workflow starts requesting cloud credentials. Alert when the unusual contributor triggers a sensitive execution path. And the correlate workflow run across repos instead of starting at one job log at a time. This is technically the mindset shift. You don't find the problem after the problem happens. You should find the problem before it's gonna happen. So no, the real danger is not that the GitHub action is broken. The real danger is that most of the GitHub Actions workflows are built for the convenience. And once the attacker realizes that they can steal the secrets from your GitHub Actions automation, the game changes. So the next time you work in your workflow and think, it's just an CI, remember that just CI might have registered keys, your deployment path, your release token, your secrets, and a direct line to a production. Which means your pipeline is not just an automation, it is a target. Remember one thing, your attackers are not waiting for that 10 day. They are actually waiting for your next pull request. That's all for this video. I'm Subhash Shrestha, you're watching Arconsis, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye-bye.